Hey, what's up, guys? This is Eek, and this video is about my way of going about mastering and mixing and mastering when I'm about done with the song. The way I kind of do it is kind of like seamless. I'll just throw a Maximus, like halfway through the song, I'll throw a Maximus on the master channel and just kind of compress stuff uh, as I go, and then like at the point I kind of like adjust stuff as needed because I kind of want to hear what things sound like when they're really compressed and stuff. I do that sometimes, uh, but you can mix everything, get everything nice and clean and fun, and then you can throw the Maximus on, and then you can mess with it. But I like to kind of throw it in like halfway through or just whenever I feel like it, just to kind of see what it sounds like when I compress the balls out of everything. But why is that not spread out? But I guess I'll show you like what I kind of do, um, and we'll restart with we'll put the default on the Maximus so I can show you the process. Okay, default Maximus. I'll go to the loudest part of the song or whatever I feel like needs to be the most specialist part, if that makes sense. The most compressed. Whatever I feel like it needs to be compressed. This sounds cool. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know how to music. Alright, we'll do that. This part. And then we'll see how it sounds in different sections and if it's okay and whatever. So our basic goal is we're trying to make it louder without destroying the dynamics of the the waveform. So what I mean by dynamics is the distance from the top of the peak, the loudest part of the song, and the quietest part of the song, which is like down here. And in between there is when you compress, you reduce it to a sausage if you want to, which sounds good if applied tastefully. Don't just do it to your whole master. It's just dumb. A true mastering engineer man, dude, will apply compression, but not. They'll still have dynamic range. You're not gonna fatigue the listener's ear with a big sausage of wall noise. You're gonna apply compression where is needed. But with like electronic music, it's basically most of it's loud and annoying. So that's what we kind of like. And it's just it's up to you. It's just like, do you want it loud and annoying, or do you want it have dynamic range with a little bit of compression, or somewhere in between? It's really up to you, and it's literally case by case, especially with each song, because every song has a lot of different things colliding with each other. But yeah, but first of all, um, I mix my stuff, and what I do by mixing, I literally just like whatever is not needed, I low pass or a high pass, cut out the lows on like every single thing, just because there's no mud floating around, and what mud is usually around 200 hertz or 250, or I forget the exact mud range, but around there, things like to collect and like float around, and your mix sounds muffled or cloggy or muddy. That's what it sounds like. Doesn't sound fun. So I literally, on everything I do, I try to scoop out whatever is not needed, if that makes sense. And what I also do is just obviously, if I have two sounds competing with each other, or that are layered together or doing something together, you obviously just see what each sound is doing with their own EQs. Scoop out like that. Are we even recording? Alright, cool. Scoop out in one sound a section, and then the other sound it will be its exact opposite. So, or you can just scoop out from one sound. It's all about creating space, creating little puzzle pieces so things can fit together better in the mix. So it doesn't sound clashy and things are like fighting each other. You gotta create room for each little instrument to have its own little space, so it can not only that you can hear it better, so it doesn't create clashing. So yeah, that's how the way I mix, I guess. Let me see what's going on. Sometimes I don't even do anything to some things. You don't even have to mix most of the time. Like if two things are talking to each other, like two lead things are like layered together, they're probably just gonna sound okay together, no matter what. But if you hear things like clashing, like obviously like a kick and a sub or whatever, the kick is just gonna sidechain the sub, so I won't. Or you can scoop out if you don't want to sidechain. You can scoop out where the area where the sub and the kick meet. Like the kick goes and the sub's just always going or whatever with your drop. So you can either sidechain. I think I did a tutorial on sidechaining. Do y'all know what sidechaining is? I don't even have anything for the snare. But I take a limiter. I route the kick. Which kick is it? I sidechain. You right click the First I have my own separate bus for whatever I want to be ducked, like the sound to be ducked, whatever I want to be sidechained. Then I have my kick going in. These wires are attacking me. And my kick the signal of the kick, my main kick, is going into that bus. So I can, and then I'll route it into the drums to compress separately or whatever. And then I have my limiter. This is the way I do it. This is one way to do it. You can do it with like P controller, and like there's other ways like gross beat, and you can get your sidechain. You can look that up if you want, but this is the easiest way for me. I go to the compression tab on the limiter, right click, and find your kick, select it, and there it is. There's the signal of the kick, and there's the whatever you wanted it to be ducked being ducked. That purple is this what it's supposed to be, like the signal, and the white is what's actually happening, what's going out, I believe. I don't know. See if that growl bass wasn't sidechained, like the kick and the growl bass would probably clash and be all weird. So sidechaining is really good for mixing, especially when you go really hard with the compression. Okay, so let's get to actually like compressing everything. So what I do is I'll probably go somewhere where there's a lot of like activity. That's like wherever I want the loudest thing, or like the most, like the idea of the song, that's where I go to. Actually, let's highlight this whole thing. I'll go to the Maximus. What are you doing here, Edison, you little rascal? And I always have a EQ on my master, just like a low cut or high pat, low cut, whatever. It's usually like 20 hertz or 22 hertz. It depends on how low your song is. I low cut just to get rid of any extra frequencies. You can't even hear that shit anyway because you're not an elephant or whatever. And then I do the same with the high frequencies and just kind of cut it because you don't need it. You can't hear that high, and you can't hear this low. So, because sometimes like the low frequencies that you can't hear will like interact with the frequencies up here. But I don't know. That's what someone said one time. They're probably lying. And then I'll slightly adjust like little small things very slightly so you can brighten everything in general, or like take away some stuff like some muddy areas, but do it very small increments at a time, and then see how you do it. See how it sounds. So we're at this part. I just clicked the solo button. So I'm on the low band. You got these four bands. Get the three low, mid, and high, and you got the master. This one's obviously you can set to whatever you want over here on the band side, band tab. And I do the same of the cutting thing, just to double ensure there's nothing going on down there. Probably 21, 22. This is a little area, right? This little knob right here. 22 is fine, whatever. It doesn't matter most of the time. And you click this little circle, or where are my frequencies at? What the hell is going on? There it goes. I don't know what just happened. So you click this little button and your frequency should come up. And I kind of, depending on what your song is doing, I can have my low section for my sub and like slightly bass area. It usually, for like a dubstep track, I'll have this like right, in capturing the fundamental tone of the snare, so you can compress the snare and it'll sound fun or whatever. That's what Seamless does. But with this, I'm not even like having a big ass snare. I'm just having like a little snare, a little snare. So it's not really competing with anything really. So I don't really care like about arranging this to that. That's fine. I mean, it doesn't matter 100%. So what I'll do, I'll take this little dot and I'll meet it halfway. That's the loudest point. I'll meet it about where it is going up the loudest. First I'll solo my bass because you don't want it floating around. I mean, if you play like a big club or whatever, you don't want it floating around the system. I just get in the habit of soloing my lows. Yeah, and you can I spread the highs and the mids and stuff. That's spreading. This is monoing. Stereoing, monoing. Okay, anyway. So it's not being compressed much. I'm just kind of meeting this point there, and I'll bring up the tension. So you're getting the oomph of the kick. You want your kick usually to be the loudest thing that's happening, or your drums. So you don't want the bass to be right there with the kick at the top of the peak. You want it to be like almost halfway up or 3/4 up. That's what I do. I don't know. It usually sounds best to me. So this is how it was. You're like, oh, I can bring up these just a little bit more. That sounds okay. So now, sometimes I mess with these attack release and a head thing. Look ahead, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, look ahead window. So this, I'll just explain what it is. The attack is how fast it compresses the signal. The release is how fast it will stop compressing the signal. right? And the look ahead is the space in between these two. You can add more. You can delay. I think I'm talking right. You can delay the effect of the release by adding more look ahead. I think that's what it is. Let me see if we can test it out. So there's the signal. That's how it looks. See how it's like smoothing out, because it's like it's taking its time getting to compression, but we don't really want that. You want it to be usually fast. But if you do a really fast compression, it distorts. You'll see it up in the mids and the highs and stuff. Usually a long release time is best. If you see how it gets like all like this weird and fuzzy, that's distorting, which is not the best. A little bit less. And it's literally, you go by ear is like the first rule, and then you kind of see what the wave is doing, obviously. But it's usually like whatever sounds good to you at that particular moment with the song is usually how it is. It's good. It's good to go. So there's the attack, and that's the release. Back up. So let's mess with the look ahead. And it's creating more space in between the attack and the release. I think that's what's happening. Look it up. I'm not master engineer man. So we got their mids now. I usually spread them out, not too far. It depends on the song. Every song is different, so I kind of listen to it, whatever sounds good. You're kind of like spreading it out, creating space for the instruments to be free and have fun. So I kind of do the same with this, where I take the point and meet it down there. But if you compress the mids too much, it sounds too muddy and it sounds too compressed, and it sounds shitty. So I'll compress it a little bit. So meet it there. See, the green stuff is it's showing it's being compressed. So even just taking the dot down there is probably just good enough. Or like leaving it right here. It's kind of just gotta like eyeball it and see how much it's being, like see what's happening to the waveform. And I almost take that rule with the kick drum oomph and the peaks between that and the bass. I almost take that rule and kind of just whatever the highest peak is in here, I kind of like because you're still getting the kick in here. I kind of bring up that tension right here, and I meet it halfway or 3/4 up of the waveform. But it's just whatever. This is what I do. I don't know. I don't know if it's an actual thing or not. See this, when I'm doing this, it's squishing the hell out of it and making it quieter. It's squishing the dynamic range, but it's reducing the volume. So that's when you take up your gain or whatever to make it louder. But I'm just teaching you stuff, but I'm not going to do that with this. That sounds okay. I don't know. I might have to go back. So we're at my highs now. We're still on solo mode, so we can hear it. Now I don't want to compress the highs too much, because look, there's already activity going on all up on this shit. It's all like already meeting each other a little bit, or at least 3/4 or whatever. Like from the lowest peak to the highest, they're all having a party. So this is the best tutorial ever. They're all having a party. So I'll just basically maybe compress it a little bit, but we can see if you don't have to compress, don't compress. If we can, let's see if we can, I'll spread it out. Let's see if we can just turn up the volume. Or actually, we can just. So now we're on the master. I'll take off solo mode. See what it sounds like. Just kind of find that sweet spot where it's not too bright and hurts your ears and not too dull and it's boring. So what you can do is take it down. Obviously it sucks. Sucks. Maybe. Too much. Might be okay. Mess with the stereo. And I don't usually mess with the, because it's not being compressed, so why was the point even messing with the parameters here, the attack and release? Couldn't mess with this a little. Can make this a little faster. For whatever reason, I don't fucking know. Okay, so that's okay for now. So now we're at about 6 dB, which is sure, or negative 6 dB, which is what, okay, that's just what happened. So now we want to raise the gain until we get about, it's usually about, the rule of thumb is, the rule of thumb is you want your peaks to go above 0 dB. About like that. Where it's like, not all, well, I guess all of them are doing it, but this is the drop, so it's fine. Not all the peaks are getting through, but some of them are getting through. Like half of them are getting through. That's what the Maximus book said, or something like that. The guide, or just whatever you want to do. And once you're at there, now you can compress a little bit if you want. Not too much. Maybe just take this tension up. Maybe bring down the mids, just this pre-volume here. Bring it up more. Let's see what happens. We boosted some stuff, so the leads are gonna have like sharper, are gonna be like sharper. So you have to like go back and like adjust everything. Let's see what happens on the trap drop. See what happens over here. I'm watching the Virtual Riot Studio Time thing. What was I gonna say? So yeah, some things. The overall mix was brightened. What am I fucking doing, dude? The overall mix was brightened with like this high, so I probably want to either go back to my chords, because my chords highs are really Because there's an OTT on here, and that just brings up the highs like a motherfucker. And that's, I don't know why I made that noise. And that's literally all I do. That's all I do, dude. That's what all, like, that's all your goal is just making things compressed where needed. And what that means is making the lows of the waveform come out more. That's what compressing is. You're squishing the dynamic range. So the lows of the peak of the there's like valleys of the waveform, and there's peaks. So the lows and the peaks are like meeting halfway, so you can hear everything nicely. That's what usually you just squish the low, the sub and the bass and shit. So it's just like a fucking sausage, and you're getting bass all the time. But each genre is different. I don't want to do that too much with this because it's not all about the bass, baby. But you kind of have to mess with shit and be crazy and creative with mastering. Like, mastering is like a whole nother art and shit. But I think hopefully I helped in some way. I tried to explain things, and I did. Someone just requested I do this, so, and I don't know. There's no weird secret. I'm just making things louder. That's all I'm doing, and making it at 0 dB. That's what my goal is. Don't slam everything, compress it like this. Don't do that. Gotta be artful and tasteful about it. Let's put it back. And just still have dynamic range in some spots. And I'm thinking of here's another thing I'm thinking about, having another Maximus here and having it turn on and off with these green buttons over here. You can just turn it on and off with automation, and have it compressing softer parts of the song differently, or just even turn off the Maximus. Well, that might sound weird. On the softer parts, or have it compressing it differently on the softer parts of the song, and then when the drop comes, automate the Maximus to like slam it in your face. So you're getting like a even more dynamic multi-brand compressing action. So you're still keeping the dynamic range within the song, so your ears aren't fatigued and it's just like, that's too much. Hopefully that made sense. I will try to mess around with that. I'll like make a drop or something and automate the different Maximuses, and I'll try to get back at you with that. Okay, so I hope this helped in some way. That's just literally how I do it, and I think I'm getting better at like hearing how things are supposed to sound, and that will just come later. You'll get an ear for stuff and how things should sound and stuff, but just keep practicing, keep just literally making song after song, and like trying to listen to other people's songs and see what they sound like and try to like copy their mastering. I don't know. It just depends on the song. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know if you like this. Let me know what kind of track from scratch you want next. And you guys have a